hands in the air. Stay strong and keep your faith alive. Take a stand, say a prayer. Stay strong and keep your faith alive. Hand in hand, side by side, with hearts open wide. Stay strong and keep your faith alive. Help others find the way. Create heaven here today. Stay strong and keep your faith alive. Raise your hands in the air. Stay strong and keep your faith alive. Take a stand. Sing a prayer. Stay strong and keep your faith alive. In times like these we need to remember what is real. Stay strong and keep your faith alive. United in our quest to spread love and happiness. Stay strong and keep your faith alive. Hey Rama Rama Bolo, Jai Rama Rama Bolo. Hey Rama Rama Bolo, Sita Ram. Shri Rama Rama Bolo, Shri Rama Rama Bolo. Hey Rama Rama Bolo, Sita Ram.
Thank you. This workshop is an opportunity for personal growth, and it's also a foundation for professional training, so that some of you may be called to either integrate this work in the work that you're already doing, or go deeper into this work. The work is very simple, but very, very deep is all I'll say, okay? Because you're working with essence, you're working with the force of equilibrium, you're working with sattva guna, you're working with being, the soul force in the work that we're doing. So the impact of it goes beyond our linear mind, goes beyond our ego, whether we're inviting just the highest essence to come into play. So just realize that depth is available to us. In fact, the only thing that we're working with here, we're calling it therapeutic presence. We're talking about the power presence, and what the mystery that we're pointing to, the mystery that we're constantly focusing on, is this cognisance, this intelligence, this lucidity, which is your divine self. That what it is in India there are just infinite faces of gods and goddesses, and infinite names of gods and goddesses. Every little village, every family has its devatas, the little icons of divinity, unique to that family and its tradition and its history. And yet the one thing that is generally agreed upon and most often named of the mystery is yourself. So the only thing we're talking about what is actually present in you in this moment is your divinity. Do you hear that? In Indian philosophy, for something to be real, it can't just be transitory. It can't be just something that appears and disappears, like, let's say, your thoughts in your mind or your emotions. They're not considered real because they're so transitory. Even this body is not considered real because it's so transitory. There's one thing that's real, which is this presence in you. because it's not caused by anything else, and it's not transitory. From the moment, from your first breath to your last breath, there's presence in your body, the same presence. Do you hear that? The same witness, the same cognisance, the same lucidity. Lucidity is the quality of the self, the quality of the life, the divinity in you. And why we do all these yoga practices, why we cultivate a sattvic diet, why we do all these mindfulness practices, is they bring more lucidity, more coherence to our moment-to-moment experience, more coherence to our energy. And the more coherent our energy, the more we potentize the grace of the soul. You hear that? The more coherent the field, the more it's able to bring the potential of the source into manifestation. So that everything that we're doing here is to potentize being, is to potentize the mystery that's at the heart of every energy field. So we're saying that so then the most interesting thing about this cognisance that's in you, this presence that's in you, this life that's in you, is it's the same life in everyone, the same presence in everyone. That this life, this cognizance, this presence is unborn, undying, everywhere, always, eternal, forever and ever and ever. And we are the flowering of this mystical tree of eternal life. You are the flowers on this tree of life. You are the fruit on this tree of life. But the tree itself and the life that it expresses is beyond time and space, and is at the root of our manifestation. So again, we're dancing with the oneness of all life, dancing with the sacredness of all life and the unity of all life and the fundamental equality of the gift of life and the gift of life's incredible gifts that life offers us. You know, everyone you listen to has an amazing, amazing story to tell of their journey and the gifts that they've gotten to witness as they unfold and as they meet the challenges of life. So, as we turn towards the possibility of working in the healing arts, we consider it a privileged relationship. A privilege because you're working on this exalted level of consciousness, because you're working with the powers of divinity, power of the soul force, the life force. And every privilege involves responsibilities. So we want to talk for a moment about responsibilities, and then we'll do a check-in where everyone can introduce themselves and articulate their intention for the work. Okay. So first of all, we want to understand the limited scope of practice of our work. We work with healthy individuals. Okay? Health is the ability to take responsibility. So we have a unique scope of practice. We're working with people who are able and willing to take responsibility for themselves. It's very, very hard to work with people who aren't taking responsibility for themselves. They'll drain your energy. So just realize you have a limited scope of practice. And so one of the first things we do when someone comes to us is we're doing an assessment. Is this client within our scope of practice? You know, because we're not psychotherapists, we're not counselors, we haven't been trained to work with people who are unable to take responsibility for themselves. So we ascertain, is this client willing to able to take responsibility for themselves? Things like, do they have a job? Indicates some level of self-responsibility. Are they part of a family or community? Indicate. Do they have practices? Can indicate. But most important is when you talk to them, do they make sense? Are they answering your questions, or are their answers a bit off the wall? If their answers are out of context, off the wall, they're probably outside of your scope of practice. You should refer them to someone who is able and trained to work with people who are more challenged. So we're working with healthy people, just normally messed up people like you and I. You know, that doesn't mean that we haven't faced life's deepest issues, because, you know, everything that's going on in this crazy world will come into your practice at some point in time. So understand, we do not diagnose or treat any form of disease, physical or mental. Diagnosis can be emotionally damaging when someone with all the powers of the medical industrial complex tells you you have. It's quite a mind trip. And so I believe that diagnosis can be damaging, and even if you sense that something is out of balance, you want to articulate it in terms that the client can take responsibility for. Okay? We always want to empower the client to take more responsibility. So let's say if I'm doing some toe reading and I see a kidney thing, I won't say your kidneys are shot. I will say you need more discipline in your life and less self-indulgence. Things that they can do that empower them to care for their kidneys, rather than saying something like, you know, your toes indicate that there's a real weakness in your kidneys. So we would put it in terms that they can take responsibility for. So we always try to put things in those terms. So everyone gets our unique scope of practice. Doctors are welcome to deal with disease, and they're trained to deal with disease. We deal with health. We're health educators. We promote, we work with healthy people. We're seeking resources for high-level wellness. Okay? I want to say that, you know, because, yeah. Now, we want to make some agreements. First of all, we want to agree to confidentiality. Can we all agree to confidentiality in this circle? Often our work is deeply cleansing. Things come up in the energy of the session, which are simply a release of past energies, which have nothing to do with who the person is today, and simply energy being let go. Our work is to simply be as present as possible for that. We don't judge in any way. And our willingness to be confidential creates a space that invites the client to be more open and to express their vulnerability and to maybe let go of things they might have. So can everyone agree to confidentiality? We don't gossip about anything that happens in this circle. Now, it's not a cult. You're welcome to talk about your own process, but we don't talk about anyone else's process in the class. And we never talk about our clients, as juicy as it may be. Next, we want the client to take 100% responsibility for their experience. So for instance, I'm working with a guy and he says, you must be very evil for me to be feeling these things. So he's projecting the source of his fear and negativity onto me rather than realizing it's an opportunity. So even if I'm being a male chauvinist, sexist pig, and it brings up all this stuff in you, you have to take 100% responsibility for your experience, okay? Whatever, in this healing context. Sometimes I'll be a pig just to bring this out in you I'll make that sacrifice. No, I'm joking. But you hear what we're saying about you need to take 100% responsibility for your experience. There's always something for us to learn in each moment if we're willing to take responsibility for what we're experiencing. We're the creation of our response to whatever's going on.
You mean as client or as...
We want the client to take 100% responsibility. In the same way, in this work, we try to demystify the work, explaining what we're doing and empowering the client. I'll always talk about the dynamics that are involved, and explain the dynamics. We never mystify the process or put ourselves above the client as therapist-client. We're just equal beings on this journey, and we're just sharing our experience to invite the other to benefit from our own experience. So we never really mystify the process. It's client-directed therapy. When we're not sure what to do, ask the client what's next. Ask the client what to do. The work that I'm teaching is ultimately a creative process that arises out of the moment. In the advanced work, we're guided by higher intelligence to the key. And then what happens in that journey all is out of the moment and guided by higher intelligence. So it's very much client-directed work. And in the work that we're going to be learning Sunday, the total process is inviting the client to be deeply present in their bodies. Okay? That's all we're doing, is inviting the client to be deeply present in their bodies. In our model, which we call an evolutionary model, each person's life dharma, your dharma is your place in this creation. Your dharma is to be present for your unique sentience as you in your journey of life. And trauma occurs. Trauma is not an outside event. Trauma has to do with the way you react to an outside event and your resources for dealing with that. So trauma occurs when we can't be present for our bodily experience. It overwhelms the presence, and the body shuts down, literally contracts and armors itself. Okay, and all you need to do to heal trauma is to experience that it's safe to be present, safe to be breathing, safe to be alive. You don't have to relive the trauma in any way. You don't have to consciously understand what you're experiencing in your body in any way. You only have to experience, sometimes I'll work with someone and we'll go into their armoring, and here's this armoring around their heart that they've had since they were a tiny child, that they haven't felt safe to be in their own heart. And in the course of just a few minutes of safety, we invite them to start to breathe and ask them to describe the sensations as they come back home to their own heart. And it's available in minutes. So we all have parts of our body that we've left as the body was challenged, that we didn't have the resources at these times in our life. Sometimes a 2 or 3 year old will be traumatized by a brother tickling them, where there's no escape, and it overwhelms their resources as a 1 year old or 2 year old or 3 year old. I had a client in life will often recreate our trauma as an unconscious way of trying to deal with it. So if your father abandoned you, you might create lovers who abandon you. If your mother was emotionally unavailable, you might create lovers who are emotionally unavailable as a way of unconsciously continuing to work on this issue. This man was a highly decorated war hero. I had another soldier in my class at the time, an officer, and he said he had tremendous admiration for this guy for the medals that he had and the valor and courage that he'd shown. So we were just in this one 45-minute session tracking the sensations in his body, and we went back to his first breath. He couldn't get his first breath, and his first experience of life was a terror of death. And what he was attempting to recapitulate on that battlefield was that terror of that first moment. And we were guided in just a few minutes of doing this work through the body and through its language, which is sensation, back to that experience of his first breath. And he was able to take that breath and feel safe to take that breath and be present in his body and clear that root trauma which had dominated his life. So this work is very, very simple. The body's wisdom is guiding us through its language, which is sensation. And we're simply supporting the client in tracking their sensation. That's what we're going to be doing Sunday. What we're doing today is much lighter weight. Today and tomorrow is much lighter weight. But in any case, do you hear it's client-directed therapy, which emerges out of the context. So we're always empowering the client. We're always merely a teacher, empowering the client to take responsibility. Thoughts or questions as I talk about some of these deep issues?
I want to ask
Please.
about the 100% responsibility of the client. How do you deliver it?
How do you deliver that? We're constantly directing the client into their body. What are you experiencing in your body? And in fact, we're constantly directing the client away from the narrative, away from the talk, into the sensations in their body. What we'll talk about Sunday, I'll just introduce it quickly, is the neocortex, where we think about things. It's very late in evolution. We're mammals, essentially. And our response to trauma is in the mammalian nervous system, which is, let's say, 500 million years old. The higher brain, where we think about things and react to things cognitively, is maybe 5 million years old. The limbic system, where we react to things emotionally, I forget, it's only a few million years old. But we've been mammals for like 500 million years, and our nervous system has been reacting to being in the food chain for 500 million years. So the place where we react to trauma is mammalian, and so the mind has very little to do with trauma. The emotions have very little to do with trauma. It's held on this primordial level of the body. The mind has no direct experience. It goes through all these cognitive processes, all the senses are filtered. The emotions, again, has no direct experience, but the body in each moment is directly experiencing life. And the body is in every moment, as a field, reacting to all the energies around it. Okay. So we're going to be clarifying that and talking more about that as we go on. So I guess the biggest way we're inviting the client to take responsibility is by going beyond the narrative into what they're experiencing, the sensation. Sensation is the language of the primordial, the reptilian brain of this ancient brain of ours. Okay, so the body, let's say if you had no neocortex and no limbic system, the body is operating through sensation. It's feeling the world and it's responding to that in its own posture, its own energetic posture. You hear what I'm saying? We call that energetic posture the felt sense. And the felt sense is the body's memory of its experience. Okay. And in this work, Sunday's work, we're going to be inviting the client to work with the felt sense, because when we're saying that when the ego structure is overwhelmed, we contract and don't experience the felt sense of that moment. We're not present for that moment in our evolution. And what we do is we hold this really sacred space and we invite the client to be fully present in their experience. And that presence releases the bodily holding and allows the trauma to be cleared without dealing with it consciously, dealing with it emotionally, just dealing with it very gently through safety and presence. So that's where we're going. For now, I'd like to just remind us, we're going to go around the circle, and I want each of you to introduce yourselves, say your name, and to articulate an intention for this workshop, or for your life, or both. And just to remind you that in each moment is an expression of karma, the fruit of our past actions, and grace, the infinite potential that's in this moment. So whatever it is that you feel that's challenging you in your life, in your growth, in your heart, in your health, in your well-being, understand you don't have to understand it. You don't have to know what healing looks like, sounds like. You just simply are invited to set an intention to and create a space and articulate an openness to heal whatever it is you need to shift in your life. Okay? So there's grace here. Thank you so much. So my name is Bruce Berger, B-U-R-G-E-R, and my intention is to try to stay as grounded and present and linear as possible to make the work make as much sense as possible, not to get too far ahead of myself, because this work is a great gift and a great privilege, and I'm grateful to be here. Thank you.
Raise your hands in the air. Stay strong and keep your faith alive. Take a stand. Say a prayer. Stay strong and keep your faith alive. Hand in hand, side by side, with hearts open wide. Stay strong and keep your faith alive. Help others find their way. Create heaven here today. Stay strong and keep your faith alive. Raise your hands in the air. Stay strong and keep your faith alive. Take a stand. Sing a prayer. Stay strong and keep your faith alive. In times like these we need to remember what is real. Stay strong and keep your faith alive. United in our quest to spread love and happiness. Stay strong and keep your faith alive.